An important development during the third stage of Piaget's cognitive development is the understanding of conservation. Just as the name implies, conservation comes from to conserve, to save, to be the same, and that's the ability that begins to develop in this stage. And all physical capacities, amount, weight, volume, and number, all the child begins to see as being conserved even as they change shape or appearance. So, for example, let's see, previously a child, if presented with 100 rupee note or 10 rupee notes, would immediately take the 10 rupee note hand, because that is more, and that's what the child sees. He sees more and therefore takes it. Now imagine if I only had 7 rupee notes in that hand. The child still will take the 7 rupee notes because he sees more in number, opposed to the single 100 rupee note. Although the value of the 100 rupee note is more, previously the child was not able to see that that value is more, even though there's only one note. In the concrete operational stage, the child begins to see the value. And if you now present him in this stage with a 100 rupee note and 7 rupee notes, the child is probably not going to take the 7 rupee notes from you. He's rather going to take the 100 rupee note, even though it is only one, because the child has learned to conserve. What the child has learned is that 1 or 2 or whatever, if you had 20 rupee notes, if there were 5, they are the same. If there were 10 rupee notes, 10, they are the same. If there are 50 rupee notes, 2, they are still the same. So it doesn't matter whether 4 children get 100 rupee notes, 250 rupee notes, 520 rupee notes, or 10 rupee notes. Every child has the same amount of money. The quantity is conserved, and that is conservation. A very important skill to learn, because previously in the earlier stages, a child would go for more. The child only could look at the physical quantity. And another example about this is right here. You have 2 glasses. One is short and the other is tall. The tall will seem to have more water because it's taller, it's narrower. The shorter glass is maybe having more water, but the child will go for the taller glass because he sees more quantity there. Physically, what he sees is water up to this level in the tall glass, water up to this level in the short glass, and therefore he goes for the taller glass. Now the child begins to understand. So if you pour water from a tall glass into a short glass, or from a short glass into a tall glass, the child can see that the quantity of water remains the same, although physically he can see from appearance that the taller glass seems to have more water, more quantity, but that is not really true. So take this example in any other way. It could be with milk, it could be with chocolates, it could be with ice cream. For children to understand conservation, take it to what the child is familiar with, and the child will learn. So necessarily a bigger tube or a fatter box or a larger amount of something does not mean it has more value. The child learns. Initially, he might make a mistake or two, he might flounder, he might not be very certain, but during this 4-year period, the child begins to learn that conservation is a skill, that when you conserve, things in terms of quantity stay the same. No matter what shape they take, no matter what size they are in, no matter what quantity you put them in, the child is able to work with numbers. The child is able to count. The child is able to make more sense of the real world for himself, and therefore understands that conservation is a skill. And conservation means the amount is the same. And when somebody, the parent or an older sibling or a teacher or somebody, spends time with the student trying to make the different packets and show how they are the same, that reinforces conservation to children.